Part 1 revealed the truth hidden in a homeless man's phone. But in Part 2, bullets, betrayals, and blood will test if justice can truly survive. When the city knows you are about to free a captive, it sends testers. The first tester wore a police uniform with the buttons correct and the swagger slightly off. He tried to escort Peter for questioning outside protocol. Sophia arrived so fast the man could taste her perfume. "Produce a warrant or produce legs," she said. He produced legs. The second tester came as whispers, blog headlines sliding like knives wrapped in compliments. Billionaire widow orchestrates husband's death to trap rival? Homeless engineer or street magician? Evelyn learned which friends owned spines. Some did. Many rented theirs from fear. She sat by a small window and watched a hawk teach its child how to drop, catch, rise. "Teach me," she whispered to the bird or to the god of birds. In court, the defense tried one last elegant gallop. Barrister Miles called an expert who testified that compression artifacts could be the footprints of deceit. The IT officer, annoyed but polite, explained what every YouTube teenager could explain. Justice Richards listened with the patience of a tailor let down by a rich customer. "Thank you," he said to both. "The law is not a place where vocabulary defeats arithmetic." Evelyn took the stand. Legos shifted, hungry for the performance of rich pain. She refused to act. "Marcus was my first music," she said simply. "We argued because future costs money. He bled, and I watched my name change shape in the mouths of neighbors." She did not weep. She placed each word like a mat at the door. "Welcome. Remove your shoes." Then Peter rose again, not to speak of codes or knights, but to answer the one question that bites the ankles of saviors. "Why you?" The prosecutor asked it with curiosity, not suspicion. Peter glanced at the judge, the crowd, the place beneath his feet. "Because the story picked me," he said. "Because sometimes the city chooses a nobody to embarrass the people who think they own the syllables of our lives. Because I wanted my daughter to see her father do one thing that does not rot." Barrister Miles smirked. "Your daughter is dead." Peter nodded. "A grave is not silence. It is a radio on a different frequency." Somewhere in the gallery, someone said, the way elders say it when a proverb arrives riding a motorbike. That evening, as the sun broke into coins across Third Mainland Bridge, the woman in indigo appeared again beside Peter on the courthouse steps. "Have you greeted the lion's dentist?" she asked. "I think the judge is the dentist," Peter offered. She smiled. "Dentists do not pull hearts. Only lions do." She tapped his chest. "Be ready. Tomorrow the mask will try to eat the dancer." They packed the court as if it dispensed visa stamps. People climbed with their eyes. The air conditioner hummed like a low drum. Justice Richards entered with the steady walk of a man who respects chairs. He said, "Continue." And the prosecutor called the two knives that had become men. Toby, Kano Kane, and Desmond Pike, caught the day before in a hotel room where the curtains had more pride than the occupants. They shuffled in chains. Desmond's mouth tried for indifference and landed on cheap. Kano scanned the room like a lizard looking for a new son. "Do you know the accused, letter of Blake?" "Never seen him," Kano lied. The prosecutor played a voice note. "Kano, 30 tonight. Use the back. Record nothing." Blake's baritone stepped into the room uninvited. Kano blinked, then laughed like a gate creaking. "Voice changers exist." The prosecutor smiled. "So do timestamps." The gallery laughed until the judge's eyebrows braided. Desmond broke first, because there was always a man whose soul was never trained for long lies. "He promised us visas," he blurted. "Said the woman would be fine. Rich women survive everything." Said the man was a tax to be paid. The room shivered. "Who is he?" "Blake," Desmond whispered, as if the name might chew him. Blake leaned into the microphone. "I have enemies," he said perfectly. "I also have a son who reads poetry when mathematics is required." Adrian did not bite. He opened another file. Hotel CCTV, a handshake in a corridor, Blake's driver paying Kano with an envelope monogrammed like a sin. The IT officer paused on the driver's tattoo, 3 dots in a triangle, the same triangle faintly visible on a gloved hand in Peter's video. Lagos loves symmetry. The court loves it more. The defense coughed procedure. The judge allowed every cough its medicine, then returned to the artery. "We will now hear closing arguments," he said, and Lagos held its breath with both hands. Sophia spoke with the patience of a builder. "Look at how the puzzle fights to fit itself. Motive, means, manipulation, then mercy from a stranger. If the city is ever to trust its mirrors again, let this be the day we clean one." Barrister Mines danced in velvet. "Doubt," he said. "Doubt sits in every pixel. If you cannot swear on your mother's grave that no one touched a frame, then you cannot bury a man's life." Justice Richards did not move. "This court will recess for an hour," he said, "and return with the law in its mouth." The mask grinned from the corner of the ceiling where old buildings keep their gossip. The dancer tightened his laces. When they reconvened, the judge did not immediately sit. He stood, palms on the bench, eyes on the crowd like a father on a stubborn market. "I was raised by a woman who sold peppers," he began, "and a man who fixed radios. I learned that sound can lie if you tune it wrong, and that heat makes truth appear." He paused. "We tuned. We heated. On counts of conspiracy to murder, framing, obstruction, and the engineering of false financial records, he pronounced Leonard Blake guilty. On counts against Cano and Pike, he pronounced guilt with no poetry. He sentenced Blake to life, without the kind of gaps rich men squeeze through. The gavel struck the floor of the century. Lagos exhaled in a thunder that shook dust from portraits. Evelyn sank to her knees, face in her hands, the sound she made too private to belong to a crowd. Sophia steadied her. Peter closed his eyes and tasted salt that wasn't sea. Adrian wept without hiding, because some sons still choose tomorrow even when yesterday screams their surname. Barrister Miles collected his papers as if collecting shells after a bad tide. Blake stood very straight, the way some men stand when all the chairs are taken. He asked to speak. The judge allowed it. Lagos loves theater but respects closure. "You think this ends me," Blake said, voice still polished. "But the river that bears the city also bears secrets. Be careful, Justice Richards. Everybody kneels somewhere." The judge met his eyes. "I kneel where farmers kneel when rain comes. Find me there." Outside, photographers undressed moments with flashes. Women ululated. A man sold sachet water at a profit's markup. A hawker shouted justice water, cold truth, and made rent by evening. The woman in indigo watched from a distance, her mouth curving in a smile that might have been approval or warning. That night, Evelyn walked free into air that felt like a first song. A little girl ran into her, Nova, her daughter, small arms fierce as a promise. Evelyn kissed the top of her head like a sacrament. She found Peter at the edge of the crowd, awkward as a broom at a wedding. She drew him into an embrace simple as sunrise. "You are no longer unclothed to the world. Come home, eat, rest." Peter nodded and wept, the way men weep when they remember they are allowed. For 3 days, Evelyn's home, once a wound, became a shrine to gratitude. Aunties arrived with gele wide enough to shade futures. Uncles came with laughter that made chairs creak. Drummers stitched hours together with skin and wood. A caterer baptized the compound in smoke and pepper. Even the mango tree leaned closer to hear. Peter ate slowly, as if each spoonful must ask permission from a hunger trained to say no. Nova slipped small drawings into his palm, stick figures with capes, a house with many windows, a dog named Justice. Evelyn watched him the way women watch weather, grateful for sun, ready for rain. Adrian came too, alone, unguarded. He stood at the gate like a boy who had broken the house, and returned with glue. Evelyn walked to him and opened the door wider. Inside. We don't punish repentance here. At night, when the compound slept, Peter wandered to the fence. The city glowed like a necklace too tight. He thought he heard indigo rustle. "Mother?" he whispered to the absence. The absence answered with a proverb. When a masquerade finishes dancing, it returns to the forest. But the forest is not empty. The hair on his arm saluted. He turned and saw a small calabash on the ground, not there a moment ago. Inside lay a kola nut, a cowrie, and a copper coin green with old stories. He took the coin. It was warm with memory. He slept that night without dreaming. Sometimes that is the greatest mercy. In the morning, a footstep they did not expect arrived in the form of a letter with the High Court seal. Justice Richards invited Evelyn, Peter, and Adrian to a private meeting with the DPP and a quiet man from an agency nobody names over microphones. Blake's conviction, the letter explained, was the first stone. There were other stones stacked behind it, and some of them had the fingerprints of people invited to Evelyn's parties. On the way, a Danfo cut off their SUV. The conductor yelled blessings that sounded like curses. A woman selling groundnuts delivered an unsolicited sermon. Two schoolboys argued Ronaldo versus Messi with theological rigor. Lagos declared itself as usual, loud, unforgiven, alive. The private meeting happened in a room with echo, but no windows. The quiet man from the agency put a file on the table like a head once belonged under it. "We believe Blake was a mouth for a larger stomach," he said. Accent Niger flat, words careful. He slid photos, men in suits shaking hands with men whose hands had never been clean, shipping manifests that forgot to exist, contracts that spelled ghost correctly. Marcus Hart stumbled onto a leak. He told Evelyn he would fix it. The leak turned into a flood that carried him away. Evelyn stared at a page with Marcus's name half erased. She did not cry. She had run out of public tears. "What do you need?" she asked. "Not money," the man said. "Courage. And the coin you are carrying." Peter's head snapped up. "How?" The man smiled, which did not help. Coins move in streets and in dreams. We follow both. Justice Richards sat at the end of the table, robe traded for a simple shirt that made him look more dangerous. "The city is a masquerade," he said. "We cut one string, 10 tighten. But we have a blade and a drummer willing to play till morning." He nodded to Peter. "You are that drummer." Adrian cleared his throat. "My father kept a physical ledger. He believed in paper because paper burns, and burning is easier to explain than deleted." The quiet man almost smiled. "Where?" "In a storage facility in Surolaire, behind a car wash where the owner always smells like bleach. Lagos is a poem of details. The devil prefers the same. They planned with the economy of people who know planning is merely tenderness toward chaos." Evelyn insisted on coming. She said, "I am tired of being a noun. Make me a verb." Justice Richards frowned and then nodded once. "A short verb," he said, "that wears running shoes." That night, as they prepared, Peter sat with the coin in his palm. He thought of Tessa and Phoebe. He thought of the woman in indigo. He whispered, "Help me greet the lion's dentist." The corn warmed. He did not know if it was science or story. Folktales do not ask for certificates before they work. They approached after midnight, a small convoy pretending to be smaller. The car wash slept, neon tired. Hoses coiled like snakes dreaming of mice. Adrian led them to a side door disguised as a wall. He loved riddles, he muttered. Peter's fingers found the seam before his mind did. The door sighed. Inside, rows of lockers, the air salted with electricity and old soap. The ledger lay where greed had trusted it, top shelf, second row, in a box that once held imported whiskey. Evelyn lifted it and nearly dropped it. It weighed like secrets preserved in oil. Peter opened to the middle.
Numbers marched like soldiers on a parade ground. Initials hid like lizards under stones. A triangle of 3 dots smiled up from the margin. Kano's tattoo's brother. "You were right," he told Adrian. He believed in paper. Before relief could make a home, footsteps entered like punctuation. Kano, free on someone's bond, slid with 2 men who had run out of jokes years ago. "You thought we'd nap?" he grinned. Guns appeared the way arguments do in Lagos, suddenly, convincingly. "Give me the book," Kano said. Justice Richards, who had chosen to come to his own ambush, stepped forward without robe or fear. "Young man," he said in a tone that once made goats reconsider crops, "do you know where you are?" "Surulaire," Kano sneered. "No," he said. "You are in a story where tricksters go home early." He slapped the emergency light with one palm. Sirens did not arrive. But the quiet man did, with 4 officers who materialized out of thirst. The room learned a new definition of too late. This time, for the right side. Kano fired once because habit and pride get hungry at the same time. The bullet shaved a lock of Peter's hair and buried itself in a calendar featuring a footballer who did not approve. Evelyn, who had once frozen at the sight of red, moved, body remembering the kitchen, the fruit knife, the lie. She grabbed the ledger and ran past fear like a woman late to a promise. The officers did their math. In less than a minute, 2 guns forgot what aiming meant. Kano hit the floor with a curse that had no gods in it. He stared at Evelyn as if she had rewritten the day and failed to request permission. "You," he said, but the word dried in his mouth. When the quiet resumed, it was not the quiet of surrender, but of rearrangement. The ledger lived, so did they. Justice Richards put a hand on Peter's shoulder. "Dentist," he said. Peter nodded, which is the correct way to accept a blessing you do not yet understand. They drove back through a city that yawns at danger. A bread seller lifted a tray like a crown. A stray dog carried a sachet like a trophy. The lagoon pretended to sleep.
The ledgers sang in court the next week. It named ghosts, and the ghosts answered roll call. Commissioners who confused public service with private appetites, CEOs who thought contracts were altars, pastors who laundered offerings into muscle cars. Some fled. Some negotiated with lawyers whose suits were yes men. Some knelt in the exact place the judge predicted. Rain, soil, truth. Evelyn did not seek revenge, she sought repair. She launched a fund for families ripped by corporate violence, named for Marcus, who had tried to fix a leak and drowned in it. She hired coders who slept under bridges and taught them to build alarms inside systems that think they are smarter than morality. She asked Peter to lead it. He said no twice, and then yes the 3rd time, which is the correct number in every myth that matters. On a small day that still mattered, they went to the shoreline with a priest who respected all languages. Adrian carried flowers for the dead he helped awaken. The woman in indigo stood a little apart, watching the water the way midwives watch silence. "What is your name?" Peter asked her softly at last. She smiled. "Names are prices. Call me Auntie River." Nova tossed petals into the lagoon. "For Daddy Marcus," she whispered. The water agreed, the way water agrees, by taking the gift and remembering it longer than stone. Justice Richards retired a year later, not because he was tired, but because he had promised himself not to turn into furniture. At his send-off, he told a story about a boy who shouted truth in a marketplace until somebody bought it. The boy grew old, he said, but the market learned to ask for receipts. Lagos laughed the good laugh. Kano and Pike learned their own proverbs behind bars. Blake wrote letters from a place where his name did not open doors. Adrian visited him sometimes, not to keep him company, but to keep himself human. Forgiveness is offense, his therapist told him. Build it for your heart, not his garden. As for Peter, he slept in a bed that belonged to him, under a roof that did not demand blood. Some nights he woke expecting smoke. Instead, he smelled rain and fried plantain from a neighbor's window. He kept the copper coin by his pillow.
When fear came with a little bag and asked to sleep over, he touched the coin and said, "We don't host you anymore." Evelyn learned to laugh without checking the exits. She still wore black head wraps sometimes, not for mourning, but for memory. She spoke at schools where children raised hands like seedlings reaching sun. "Power is a mirror," she told them. "Clean it with truth, or it will show you a stranger." And the city? Lagos did what Lagos does. It forgot. It remembered. It tried again. But in the alleys where rumors sharpen knives, a different rumor now walks with a swagger. That a judge once knelt where farmers kneel. That a woman outran a bullet made of lies. That a homeless engineer tuned the city until the station found justice. On Harmattan evenings, Auntie River is said to pass the high court steps, humming. If you listen carelessly, it is only wind in Gale. If you listen well, like Peter learned to listen, you will hear the old proverb hidden inside a new song. When the lion opens his mouth, greet his dentist, but also teach the lion a better diet. And the gavel? It remembers the day it almost fell on the wrong life and chose instead to become a drum. If you felt every twist, every gasp, and every victory, smash that like button and leave me a comment below about which moment hit you hardest. I want to hear your thoughts. This story may be done, but trust me, we're just getting started. Make sure you're subscribed and hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss what's coming next. We've got more stories, more twists, and more truth to uncover, so stick with us. Until then, keep your truth close and your courage even closer.